Hello, Bridget Bartley, and we're here today at Woodrow Wilson Rehabilitation Center. We're with Reverend Diane Mosby and Ms. Gigi Szelesta. Both of their sons have been in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we're going to ask some questions and get their feedback on their sons. We'll start with Reverend Diane.
Okay.
You want to tell us about your son?
Sure, I'll be happy to. My son, Jeffrey Mosby, Jr., served in Mosul, Iraq, with the HHC 276 Engineering Battalion. He served over there for a little over a year. Andre was, his MOS was heavy equipment mechanic, but because of his exemplary service over there, he was chosen by his commanders to do convoys, and so he was a lead gunner on several convoys off of the Mosul base to Kuwait to carry supplies. And it was on one of those events that he was on a convoy that they encountered an IED explosion. He was, what he said at the time, not injured on that particular convoy. But we found out later as he returned home from Iraq that he actually suffers with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Which is a common disorder now with our returning troops.
Yes, very much so.
How is he doing now?
He is still struggling to gain some semblance of normalcy and really come into grips with the fact that he does have post-traumatic stress disorder. One of the downfalls of having post-traumatic stress is most soldiers are in denial that they even have an injury or that they have a condition. They think that they are functioning normally, that they are operating normally, that they are making sound decisions for themselves, and so it's very hard for them to see themselves ill.
Right.
And that's one of the greatest struggles with families who see behavior changes and see attitude changes and see the decline of their personhood, to be able to convince them that they are not functioning in a normal capacity.
And those were his symptoms.
Yes.
That was what you noticed.
Yes.
First when he returned.
Yes. Was probably about the 4th month after he returned that we began to see behavioral changes in him. He was very reclusive, irritable. He has always been a very outgoing, very loving child. And to see him not want to communicate with his family, not want to come to family functions, not want to be around his friends. He started having problems getting up, having nightmares and intrusive thoughts and screaming out at night and not just being able to function day in and day out. Yeah.
Good luck to your son,
Thank
your
you.
whole family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next interview will be with Gigi Szelesta, whose son and godson both served in Iraq. 3 tours for your son.
1 in Afghanistan and 2 in Iraq.
Yes. Do you want to tell us about your son Stan and your godson Jason? Stephen.
Yes.
Stan.
Jason is my youngest son.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
He's the firefighter.
Okay.
Well, Stan, he has been in the Army for 10 years. He's deployed to Afghanistan with the 101st Airborne Division, and also deployed to Iraq when we first invaded, the first wave into Iraq. But when Stan was in Afghanistan, he was in a helicopter crash in the mountains of Khost, where he was injured. He received severe facial and head trauma. He recovered. Stan is actually a positive story, as I said before, because the medical treatment that Stan received in Germany was just phenomenal.
Right.
Really, the doctors just do not understand why he ended up the way he did, because the extent of his injuries. He has 20/20 vision. His brain injury is mild. I mean, he is still active duty. He's been an instructor at the Department of the Army Sniper School. Now he is an instructor at the United States Army Combative School. So he's had quite a great career. He's a Bronze Star recipient, plus several other accommodations, and he's done quite well. So as far as Stan goes in his treatment, it has been a success. Now for my godson, Stephen, yes, he was injured by an IED blast in August of 2004. He'd only been deployed for 3 weeks. He was in military police, and they were just doing routine patrols. Fortunately, the IED was planted backwards, so Stephen actually did not get the full blast, or he would not be alive today. It did kill the enemy, the very ID that the enemy had set. So, but that's one positive for Stephen. But Stephen has he has trouble with PTSD. He ended up losing his left eye from the blast. He's Purple Heart recipient, and but with Stephen, after he returned after his injuries, after he turned back to Fort Leonard Wood, he was treated for PTSD and his eye injury. His traumatic brain injury was not diagnosed until the fall of 2007. Stephen had a lot of erratic behavior, just off-the-wall things. No, no care for safety for himself, safety of others.
A lot of the radical behavior.
Yes. Radical is just off-the-wall things that, knowing my godson prior, before the injury, I would have thought, if I hadn't seen it for myself, I would have thought, if someone was telling me, I would have thought they were crazy.
Yeah.
What would you stress to the returning troops, their families, their loved ones? Get help, get as much help, read as much literature as Reverend Diane?
Yes, and also there's a wonderful agency here in Richmond called the Brain Injury Association of Virginia. It is a nonprofit. It's at no cost. Family members or survivors, they work closely. They do referrals to medical facilities, lawyers, whatever your needs are. They have the resources for you. It's a wonderful association. There's many others there. Do not wait for a VA medical center or a physician to give you a list of these agencies or associations, because you will not get them.
So get up and get out and
go on the internet, type in traumatic brain injury or TBI or PTSD. A whole array of things will come about, or Google treatment for, and that's one good way. As far as the families, be patient, be compassionate, but be aware.
Right.
If it's nothing but taking notes on a daily basis as far as changes in behavior or activities or whatever the case may be, be alert to all signs. Do not, if any of the PTSD happens to include substance abuse, do not be an enabler. Love is tough, but you have got to decide as a parent, am I going to enable my son or daughter to continue this type of lifestyle, or am I not? And that is the first thing that my godson has told me that was so important to him, because I looked him in the eye and said, Stephen, I love you, but I refuse to be your enabler.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
Thank them for their service.
Sure.
So nice to meet with you all and hear your stories.
Thank you
Good
so
luck.